Alright guys, well you saw the clickbait, you know why you're here. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. Alright guys, welcome to this episode of Rolling with T-Bone. As we're rolling out again on Miss Kitty. If you're new here, welcome in. My name's T-Bone. I shoot motorcycle related content and, well, any kind of content really. If you are new here and you haven't subscribed yet, I invite you to go watch a few of my videos and maybe decide if I'm right for you, and if you think I am, maybe consider giving me a subscribe. To new subscribers, hello, welcome in. Glad you guys hit subscribe and decided to join in with us. If you're old here, welcome back. You know what's going on. Alright guys, so you see the clickbait. We're going to talk a little bit about the dark history of T-Bone. So why am I deciding to share my dark history with you? Because I think for you guys to truly understand me and to get the most out of being a member of the Rolling with T-Bone crew, it's probably best that you know kind of who I am and why I am the way I am and why I am who I am. To kick this off and to share with you the event that actually shaped who I would become in life and who I would be as a person. You got to go all the way back to 1988. T-Bone was 10-year-old in 1988, and December the 12th, 1988, my mother was abducted and she was brutally murdered, and lots of other things. The guys who did it, they actually captured them, sentenced them, sent them to prison. But before we talk about that, let's get back into why these things that happened kind of shaped who I am today. 10-year-old, and I had two younger brothers. I've got two younger brothers that are twins. They were 3-year-old when this happened. So ten-year-old coming up on 11. There's a murder trial. My mom gets ripped away from me. I'm left with a dad who is an alcoholic and a drunk, a drug addict. And he just essentially checks out. So by 10, 11, 12-year-old, I'm already having to be an adult, take care of two younger brothers. At 13-year-old, I'm working at a place called Mobile Metals about a mile away from my house, making extra money on the weekends. And I've touched on some of this stuff in different videos. I've touched on different parts of it, but I don't think I've ever really brought it together in one video. But I'll get back with you in just a second when we get up the road. Alright guys, we're getting close to a place down here, and I'll go ahead now and I'll apologize if you hear me coughing in this video. I was on the tractor today at work and I swallowed something, pollen or something was, I ran through it and I swallowed it, and I took a Benadryl. But okay guys, right up here on the left hand side of the road, I can't pull up into the place, but I'll slow down as we go by it. This is actually the location where my mom was murdered. Of course, the locals will recognize it as Lick Skillet Road. Right out here, guys. There used to be a little camper sit right off in that clearing right there. And these two guys lived in that camper. And that's where they took my mom when they abducted her. So what that did to me was a 10-year-old mind, 11-year-old mind, pretty well much that event, because I had lost my grandma Higdon, had died in 1987. My mama got killed in 88, and then I lost my grandpa Dunn not long after that. So those were three events that happened pretty close together that went ahead, you know, and shaped my mind, you know, put the Grim Reaper, you know, in T-Bones. The Grim Reaper was already there shaping my mind. Death was, you know, young age, tender age, you're already, you know, exposed to, excuse me guys, sorry about that, exposed to that kind of death. But what that done was, over the next few years in my teenage years, it kind of shaped who I would become. I really took on a different type of attitude. I took on it wasn't a screw the world attitude, but it was a get them before they get me attitude, I guess, is about the only way I know how to explain it. And my teenage years, guys, I was rough. I'm not gonna lie. You know, once I got up there and I got my license, and there was never, I guess if I'm looking for a way to try to explain it, if I was going to try to explain it to make someone understand me then, there was no consistency. Everything in my life at that time was evolving and changing. Family members was moving away from the area, starting their own lives in different places. So I kind of felt like I didn't, it wasn't just me feeling like that way. A lot of times I was alone. And I don't think that I ever actually allowed myself to build a defense mechanism, I guess is what you want to call it, to protect my mind. Because basically what I done was I just essentially sucked it all up, locked it all in, and went on about my life. And through my 20s, I never actually realized how much it was affecting my life until I got into my 30s, and then of course my early 40s. I started looking back at the things that I was doing, the way that I was doing things, and it was never that I wanted to be a controlling person, but I was looking for consistency, and I was looking to protect my family. So I had just locked a lot of that stuff away. And for the most part, I was pretty happy with the life I was living. Married to R1, we had 3 great kids. I was content. I was happy, and I'm still happy. But then you fast forward 30 years, and they release one of my mom's killers from prison, when that was guaranteed to my dad back when that would never happen. Well, like I said, fast forward 30 years and it happens. So now you have me trying to not only deal with that, but deal with things that had happened way back when I was young that I just never dealt with. I never let it process, so I never had to deal with it. So what you ended up with was them releasing him from prison and me just going back to that dark place for a little while, because I became very torn about what I was going to do. I knew what I wanted to do, But I had several things to consider. So because somebody had messaged me after the fact, and it's been a few videos ago, where I had talked about being in a Dracula black place in my life. A real dark place. I missed out a lot of life in my teenage years. I missed out a lot of life. I didn't get to do what the other teenagers my age was doing. You know, and I'm not saying this to get poor pitiful me, because out of everything bad that happened to me, I came to a conclusion pretty early that I was not going to let this make a victim out of me. If that makes sense. I wasn't going to be a victim because of this. So what you got was, you just got a hardened version of me. I knew when to be soft, I knew when to be approachable, and then I knew when not to be approachable. I became a pretty good judge of character pretty quick. I could tell when somebody was legit, or I could tell when somebody was legitimately full of crap. But you know, it's kind of one of those things, guys, where when you live in a place that dark, you have to kind of figure out how to balance all of that. And I think that's what I was lacking, if that makes sense, was the balance of all that. So I came this way, guys, for one particular reason. The area we rode back through is where she was killed. December 12th, her body was found right through here by the people who live right up here. Her body was found here. So yeah, it's haunting sometimes to ride through here. Most days it doesn't bother me. Most days I'm pretty good, but you know, it kind of goes to explain to you guys kind of why I am the way I am, and I say the things that I say. I learned to be in life who I had to be and not what I had to be. I could sit down and eat with outlaws, or I could you know, or I can kneel down and pray with Christians. I can be whoever I need to be for whatever the situation calls for. You know, I always try to be a good guy. I always try to be a good person. I try not to be mean to people. I try not to disrespect people. I try not to mistreat people. But I learned, and one thing that I noticed about myself when I was younger was I had a very short fuse. I had zero tolerance for nonsense. Excuse me, guys. I had zero tolerance for nonsense. I wasn't going to suffer a bunch of bull crap, if that makes sense to you. But it shaped who I would be. It shaped who I would become in my life. You know, it shaped me becoming a wrestler. It shaped me riding motorcycles. And in that time, just a short story about the motorcycles. I was probably 11 or 12 out in the neighborhood with some of the kids where I grew up at in Mobile. Dirt bikes were all the rage at the time. And I had went in and I told my dad, my mom was still alive. So I was about 8-year-old, 7-year-old. And I told my dad that I wanted a dirt bike. You know, more specifically, I wanted a YZ80. But my dad kind of thought it over, and he said, let me think on it. So he went and bought me a XL 350 Honda Custom or XL 350 street bike, basically. And he told me, he said, if you're going to learn to ride this, then I'll think about getting you a dirt bike. He said, but I want you to know how to handle a street bike first. Which is reverse of the way most people do it, but we are talking about my dad here. But yeah, I think I'll keep on going. But yeah, he said, let me see, and you know, I'm 46 years old, and to this day, I've still never owned a street dirt bike. But you know, it's one of those things that happens, and it's definitely a moment in someone's life, you know, that can determine whether they become an evil person or whether they stay as a good person. I could have really went either way. I mean, I could have ended up in prison, and, you know, really, who could have blamed me? I could have let it control me that way, but excuse me, guys. I kind of decided, like I said, when I was younger, that I wasn't going to be a victim. That, yes, this awful thing had happened, this tragic thing, you know, this unimaginable thing had happened to me, had happened to my brothers, my dad. And then I just watched my dad just completely become a victim. Like I said, drinking and drugs, and he just completely checked all the way out. He just checked out on life. And that hurt, because I wanted his love. I wanted his respect. I wanted to have a better relationship with him than what I had. But I love my dad because he was my dad. But because of the person he was, I had zero respect for him. And that breaks my heart to have to say that. And I hate for you guys to have to hear me say something like that. But just absolutely, I loved him because he was my dad, but I had no respect for you know, because of the way he was. You know, he was a victim. And not to say that I wouldn't be the same way, but you know, I kind of chose to go a different path, to walk a different path. And y'all, I've said it, y'all heard me say it in a lot of other videos, and I'll say it in this one. Had it not been for R1, there's no doubt I wouldn't be right here riding this motorcycle talking to y'all today. I would have been dead. I would have either killed somebody and already been in prison, or I would have been dead. Because I know who I was. I knew what I was capable of if I was put in the wrong situation. But anyway, guys, you know, dark history for sure. And finding my passion in motorcycles at that young age. You know, when I went in and asked for a dirt bike and ended up with a street bike, it ignited a passion in me for motorcycles that through my teenage years, that passion and being able to just get on a motorcycle and ride and get away from everything carried me through so many dark times that I could have really went either way. But you know, y'all heard me do a video you know, a couple years ago now, where I just did a talking head video and kind of explained about where I was in life before I met R1. You know, about how I had just sat down and talked to God and was like, you know, if you've got anything for me, you might want to go ahead and present it, because I'm just about to the end of my rope. So I have been in them pitch black dark places. You know, the darkest corners of your mind, where I've always said, when you're not scared of the shadows anymore, you're in a pretty dark place. And it makes me uncomfortable to even talk about it even now. But I really wanted to share this with you guys because, like I said, it's who I am. It's a part of my history. It's the events that have shaped me into being the man I am today. So if you hear me say something off the wall, or you see me do something off the wall, just know that the chaos does have control to it. I guess is what I'm trying to say. But don't take no sympathy. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not a victim. I don't need sympathy. Prayers, yes. Sympathy, no. I'm not looking for a poor, pitiful me. Like I said, I just wanted to share this with you guys. Alright guys, well I guess that's going to be about making this video long enough. But I appreciate you coming along with me. I've never shared those 2 locations on video before. Never really shared much of that story. But I tell you what guys, I think this is where I'm going to drop it off. Mommy and Miss Kitty cruise around a little bit more. She fired up her second time, so maybe her battery just needed a charge. I don't know, we'll see. We still got some cold weather coming. We're not out of winter. But guys, remember to like, share, comment, and if you haven't already, go check out some videos and subscribe. And I'll tell you what guys, I'm T-Bone. This has been Rolling with T-Bone. Until the next time, y'all take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and hey, thanks for watching.